So my homemade snowplow there that I call a Snowbull Junior, I used it 3 times now, and it works pretty good. Surprisingly, in wet snow, doesn't slip all that much. But the one main problem with it is it goes too slow in reverse, because you plow forward, then you got to reverse to come back at it the next plow. So I got looking at it. This is part of the snowblower drive here. So your rubber-legged wheel rubs against this and spins it. You got neutral in the center. You got reverse over on this side. Probably only moves over that far. And then drive. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Goes faster and faster as it moves out from center. Well, I wanted fast reverse, so I had to move over further this way. And the problem is the mechanism inside only had about an 1/8 inch more travel before the setup on the hex shaft there would run in the two chains would run into one another. The gear, speed reduction chains were going to hit. So I thought, well, the changing that, moving it an 1/8 inch more at the most is not worth it. So I got the brainiac idea. Well, what I need to do is, if I can't move the wheel further this way, then I'll move this. So what I've got to do is, now the V-belt from the motor directly drives that piece, and if you look at it here, you'll see that there's not a whole lot of distance from the edge of that to there. It's in the inside of the housing. It's a very tight squeeze even to get the V-belt on. So if I'm trying to move it that way, I got to cut a slot in the outside casing of the snowblower right behind the one wheel, and take this off and move this bearing over this way. It sits, there's a hole cut in this plate. Haven't got it apart yet, but I believe I can do it. I'm basically, this sprocket here, even though it had a set screw on the keyway, it's like pressed on the shaft. So I'm using jack screws, basically just screws cut short enough that I can wedge them in between there, and then start tightening the nut towards the end. And I've already got it, well, you see it was flush when I started. So you can see I got some silver shaft showing in there. So I'm going to keep using this process. I may have to go to the extra long nuts, coupling nuts I guess they're called. I got a couple of them that are used here. May have to cut them, because I think I pretty well run the thread right off the end of the bolt here. And I've still got probably 1/2 inch more to push. I don't have any kind of puller that would pull this thing off of there. My experience with sheet metal pulleys has been they usually get bent all to heck and aren't usable afterwards. But probably worth, I'm guessing, Canadian inflation prices here, that's probably a 30-buck pulley there. From Princess Auto, you'd have a weld-on hub and then a sheet metal pulley, probably about 30 bucks. And then it probably won't be quite the same size either. I've had troubles with that in the past. So I'm going to save this one, and that way I know everything's right. So basically it's going to move about 3/8 inch that way, and then I'll have to cut the slot in the housing there so I can install my V-belt and install this piece and all that. And weld the housing back up, because I don't want my V-belt out where snow from the tire can get to it. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing here, just moving this guy over. You know me, I always got to do stuff the hard way, but I do want the thing to be able to reverse faster. It works well. We've had some really wet, heavy snow twice now this week, and it plowed her out of the way. I've heard of a few people talking that their snowblowers wouldn't touch it. It's like trying to push wet slop. I guess if you install one of those blade kits on it or something, the impeller kit, then you basically turn the thing into a water pump, and it'll pump just about anything. But unless you do that, it won't. So, and the plow, of course, will work in the sloppy stuff, but I just gotta get it so it'll back up faster. So anyway, I'm gonna keep tearing this guy down here. Well, there I cut the slot inner there, so it's centered on the center of the pulley, and it's like 1.25 inches wide and about 5.5 inches tall. So the pulley will stick out just a bit out here, but you have to have enough room to install the belt on it also. So I figured you might as well make it bigger than you need while you're cutting it. And this time of year I have to use the light while I got it, so I can work on the rest of it inside. But it's hard to zip disc out here. You know, it's easier in the light than it is in the dark. So anyway, that's the slot there. Well, finally got it off. Took a long time, probably more than an hour. I had to take one of those coupling nuts, cut it in half, and shave them down to get it to fit. But I just did 2 of them, so they were opposite sides there. You can see the marks it left in the pulley there. But finally got her off. Had to be a press fit. Little half moon key there. Yeah, so it's just a take the 4 nuts off, and that thing will, the whole housing there will come right out. It's got a washer there, and then there's a snap ring. So imagine a person could probably put new bearings in something like that if you needed to, but generally a person would just replace it. But these days, this isn't a new snowblower, so you might have trouble getting one of these parts. The supply chain difficulties and all that fun stuff. But anyway, my object now is to take this part right out, and then I'll see how far I can drill new holes in. 3/8, 7/16 sideways, something like that. If I have to, I guess I'll weld up the old holes, but then I got to cut like a crescent moon piece out of this thing, grind it out. So it's gonna be fun times, but hopefully she'll pan out in the end to give me a faster reverse. So there it is, torn apart. It's your bearing housing there. So it's got square holes in it for like bumper bolts. And then there's a hole there. This 5th hole down here is for a brace. Comes through 1/4-inch bolt. Goes over, stop it from swiveling or something, like just flexing. So time to figure out the new holes there. Well, I went a different direction. I zip disced the piece out, so cut it out, and then cut, you can see 3/8 inch or so further to the left here, the way I want to move it. And then I've got it clamped in there, so I'm going to tack weld it back in. So, and then I'll weld a filler piece on the opposite side there. So hopefully that'll work out better than cutting massive holes and having to weld around them and that type of thing. We'll see how it works out.